poverty, famine, a dream of freedom. These things drove scores of people from Ireland to the New World, but I'm not talking about the blights and the desperate masses who flocked to New York, Boston or Chicago. No, the Irish poor I'm talking about today came to our shores over 300 years ago, and the place they found refuge was the misty mountains of Appalachia. This is their story. So yeah, if these stories work for you, subscribe. And I'm curious, what time is it where you are? Comment your city and time below. I check these and it's wild seeing people from California listening at 3 p.m. while someone from Tokyo says it's already tomorrow there. Okay, tonight it's Ulster, Ireland in the year 1716. But wait, get comfortable before we start. Seriously, adjust those pillows. Pull up that blanket. Where we're going, you won't want to move once we get started. You wake up before dawn because you have to, not because you want to. The straw beneath you has been pressed flat over months of sleeping on it, and every lump in the dirt floor beneath pokes through. Your back aches, always aches. The cottage is one room, just one. You share it with your wife, 3 kids, and sometimes the damn chickens when it's cold enough they'd freeze outside. The smell? Listen, you stopped noticing it months ago. Peat smoke, unwashed bodies, chicken droppings, the mustiness of damp thatch overhead. That's just what air smells like now. Outside, it's still dark. You can hear the landlord's cattle lowing in the good pasture. The pasture you'll never graze your own animals on. Because you don't own animals, you don't own anything really. Not the cottage, not the 1/4 acre of rocky soil you're about to spend 14 hours working, not the spade you'll use to work it. Your name is Eamon, 24 years old. You're a sharecropper in County Antrim, Ulster. Your grandfather came here from the Scottish lowlands back in 1650, lured by promises of land and religious freedom. Those promises? Yeah, about that. Here's what they didn't mention. You'd never own the land. Ever. No matter how hard you worked, how many years you poured into this soil, it would always belong to someone else. Some English or Scottish landlord who might visit once a year, might not. You pull on the same shirt you've worn for 3 weeks. It used to be your father's. The knees of your breeches are worn through, patched with fabric that doesn't match. Your shoes. Well, let's call them shoes, more like leather wrapped around your feet and tied with twine. They'll last maybe another month before they fall apart completely. Your wife, Margaret, is already awake. She's always awake before you somehow. The fire in the hearth needs tending, oats need cooking, the baby needs feeding. There's no sleeping in when you're trying not to starve. Breakfast is oats. Again, it's always oats. Porridge if you're lucky, which means you've got enough water to make it not dry. You eat it with your fingers, sopping it up with a piece of yesterday's bread. The bread is hard enough to hurt your teeth. You eat it anyway. Or rent's due next week, Margaret says. She doesn't look at you when she says it. You already know, of course you know, rent is always due, and it just went up. Again, here's the thing about being a sharecropper in Ulster. You work someone else's land, you plant their crops, you harvest their crops. And in exchange, you get to keep maybe 1/4 of what you grow, if the harvest is good, if the weather cooperates, if the landlord doesn't decide he needs more this year. And the rent? The rent keeps climbing. 3 years ago, it was manageable. Brutal, but manageable. Last year, it went up 20%. This year, another 15% on top of that. The landlord's agent, a sweaty man named Crawford, who rides a horse worth more than your entire year's earnings, explained it very clearly. Supply and demand, lad. Lots of folk want land. If you canny pay, there's 10 families who will. So you pay, even when it means eating less. even when it means your kids go hungry some nights. You pay because the alternative is being thrown off the land entirely. And then where would you go? Wait, it gets better. No, actually, it gets worse. Way worse. You're Presbyterian. Your family has been Presbyterian since before they came to Ulster. You believe in hard work, plain worship, direct relationship with God, no fancy rituals, no bishops telling you how to pray. But here's the fun part. The official church is Anglican, the Church of England. And even though you're Protestant, even though you came here because Scotland and England wanted Protestant settlers in Catholic Ireland, even though you've done everything they asked, you still have to tithe to the Anglican Church. That's right. Every year you have to give a chunk of your already pitiful earnings to a church you don't attend, to support priests you've never met, to maintain buildings you'll never worship in. It's not right, your neighbour, William, says. He's older than you by 20 years, grey in his beard, bent from decades of this life. You're standing in the field, taking a break that's not really a break because you're both still working while you talk. They promised us religious freedom, and now we're paying taxes to their church while our own minister lives in a shed. He's not exaggerating about the shed. Your Presbyterian minister, Reverend Patterson, literally conducts services in a modified cowshed. The congregation built it themselves because they're not allowed to build a proper church. Meanwhile, the Anglican church in town, the one you're required to support, sits mostly empty every Sunday. Marble floors, stained glass, carved wooden pews, nobody in them. The hypocrisy burns like the ache in your shoulders, burns like the hunger in your belly on the days when the oats run low. Glasgow used to tell me stories, you say to William. Glasgow is what everyone calls your grandfather. Nobody remembers why. Said when they came over, they were promised land, real land, ownership. He said the agents showed them papers, made it sound like they'd be lords themselves. Aye, William spits into the dirt, and my da told me the same. All lies, beautiful, profitable lies. Here's what actually happened. Back in the early 1600s, after the English finally beat the Irish lords in Ulster, they needed to fill the province with loyal Protestants. So they started the plantation of Ulster. Big fancy name for, let's move a bunch of people here. The British Crown offered land grants to wealthy English and Scottish landlords. These undertakers, they were called. Each one had to bring at least 48 adult males to settle the land, had to build defences, had to make sure everyone spoke English and attended Protestant services. And it worked, sort of. By 1630, there were maybe 20,000 adult males here, which meant somewhere around 80,000 to 150,000 total people when you counted women and children, mostly Scots, mostly from the lowlands, where life was already hard, but at least there was some hope of advancement. Your grandfather was one of them, arrived in 1650, already middle-aged, hoping to make a better life. He'd been a small farmer in Scotland, scraping by, hearing these stories about Ulster, empty land, opportunities, a fresh start. What he found was that he'd just traded one landlord for another. The undertakers owned everything. They parcelled it out to tenants. Tenants like your grandfather, tenants like your father, tenants like you. The famine in the 90s, William says. He's pulling a weed as he talks, not looking at you. Lost my first wife in that, and both boys, you remember. Everyone remembers the 1690s. The crops failed, just failed. You don't know why. Something about the weather, the cold, the rain that wouldn't stop. People starved, actually starved. You were just a baby then, but you grew up hearing the stories. Villages where half the people died, families that just disappeared. And what did the landlords do? Raised the rents, figured that with so many people desperate, they could charge more. Basic economics, horrible, brutal economics. My father used to say the soil here is cursed, you tell William, and honestly, you're starting to believe it. The land is rocky, hard to work. Even in good years, the yield is mediocre. You're constantly pulling stones out of the earth, constantly fighting the clay that clumps and won't drain. Constantly watching the rain, praying it's not too much and not too little, knowing it'll probably be one or the other. The work is endless. You're out here from first light, which in October means around 7 in the morning, until you literally can't see your hands anymore, which might be 7 at night, 12, sometimes 14 hours, and that's just the field work. There's also hauling water from the stream a quarter-mile away, chopping peat for the fire, repairing the constantly leaking thatch roof, mending tools that break, trying to keep the chickens from wandering into the landlord's property where they'll be confiscated. Feeding the pig you're fattening up that you'll have to sell to pay the rent instead of eating it yourself. Margaret works just as hard, harder maybe. She's got the kids, the cooking, the endless spinning. See, most families here are involved in the linen trade. It's the only way to make a little extra coin. Flax is the big cash crop in Ulster. You grow it alongside your food crops. Margaret spins it into yarn. When she has enough, you take it to the linen merchant in town. He pays you, not much, but enough to maybe, possibly, keep you above water. Except even that's getting harder. The market's flooded, too many people making linen, prices keep dropping. Last year you got 8 pence for a bundle. This year, 6. Next year it'll probably be 5. My cousin sailed for Pennsylvania last spring, William says. He's moved on to another row of the field. You follow. Says there's land there, real land, says a man can own it, actually own it. You've heard these rumours, everyone has. There's this place across the ocean called America, the colonies. They need people. Apparently they're so desperate for settlers, they're practically giving land away. Hundreds of acres, thousands, some folks say. No landlords, no tithes, no Crawford riding up on his expensive horse to tell you the rent just went up again. Could be lies, you say, like the lies that brought our grandfathers here. Could be. William agrees, but I'll tell you what, if rent goes up one more time, I'm finding out. The sun is fully up now. Your day is just beginning, really. You've got hours ahead of you, hours of bending, lifting, hauling. Your back will scream, your hands will bleed. Tonight you'll collapse onto that straw mattress and barely have energy to eat the oats Margaret's kept warm for you. And tomorrow you'll do it again, and the day after that, and the day after that. Because what choice do you have? But here's the thing. Here's what William doesn't know yet, what you don't know yet. Change is coming, the kind that can't be stopped. Because 3 years from now, in 1719, you won't be here anymore. Neither will William, neither will half the families in this valley. You'll be on a ship, a small, cramped, miserable ship sailing west across the Atlantic. Some of you will die on that journey, but some of you will make it. Make it to a land that's harder, wilder, and more dangerous than anything you've ever known, but also freer. Actually free. For now, though, you don't know that. For now, you just know that your hands hurt and your stomach's empty and the rent is due next week. For now, you bend back to the earth and keep working, because that's what you do. That's what your father did. That's what his father did. You work, you survive, you endure, and somewhere deep inside where you don't like to look too closely because hope is dangerous, you wonder if there might be something more. Midday comes. Margaret brings you water in a wooden bucket. The kids trail behind her, the 2 older ones anyway. Little James and Annie. They're barefoot even though it's October. Their shoes wore out in August. You told Margaret you'd make them new ones. You haven't had time. Won't have time until winter when the fieldwork slows down. Papa, I'm hungry, Annie says. She's 5. Big brown eyes that break your heart. Supper tonight, you tell her. It's all you can say because there is no lunch. Lunch is for people who have enough food to eat 3 times a day. Margaret's face is tight. She doesn't say anything, but you can see it. The worry, the calculation she's always doing in her head. How many oats left? How many days until the linen's ready to sell? Whether the pig will be fat enough by the time the rent's due. Crawford came by this morning, she says quietly. The kids are playing in the dirt nearby, far enough they can't hear. Said the landlord wants to inspect the cottage next month. Said we need to make repairs or there'll be a fine. Of course there will be, because the cottage that you don't own, that you just live in as part of your tenancy, needs to meet the landlord's standards. Never mind that the landlord's house has glass windows and a slate roof and probably more rooms than you can imagine. Your one-room cottage with its leaking thatch, that needs repairs. That you have to pay for. How much, you ask? Your voice sounds tired even to your own ears. 2 shillings. 2 shillings. That's a week's worth of food. That's half the money you'd saved toward next month's rent. That's gone now. Just gone. You drink the water. It's cold from the stream. That's something. In summer, the water gets warm and tastes like mud and sometimes makes people sick. At least in October, it's still cold. Small blessings. William's right, you know, Margaret says. She's looking at the kids, not at you. About Pennsylvania. My sister's husband's brother went last year. They've got 40 acres. 40, and it's theirs. Not rented, theirs. This is the first time she's brought it up directly. You've both been dancing around it for months. The idea, the possibility, the absolutely terrifying notion of leaving everything you know and sailing across an ocean to a place you've never seen. We'd have to pay for passage, you say. You're not arguing, just stating facts. What, £3 per person? We're 5 people. That's £15. We don't have £15. We don't have £5. Indenture, Margaret says. The word hangs there between you. We could indenture ourselves, work it off in America. Indenture, basically becoming a temporary slave. You sign a contract before you leave. Someone in America pays your passage. In exchange, you work for them for a set number of years, usually 7. 7 years of working for someone else, no pay, just food and shelter. And if you die during those 7 years, well, that's the risk. I'm not indenting my children, you say. Your voice is harder than you meant it to be. I know, Margaret says quickly. I know. I don't know how much longer we can do this, Eamon. You don't either. That's the truth you don't want to say out loud. Every year it gets harder. Every year the rent goes up and the prices for what you sell go down and the gap between what you need and what you have gets wider. You're 24 years old and you're already breaking. You can feel it in your body. The way your back doesn't quite straighten anymore. The way your hands don't quite open all the way in the morning. The way you're so tired, so constantly tired, that some mornings you wake up and think maybe today you just won't get up. Maybe today you'll just lie there on the straw and let whatever happens, happen. But then Annie needs breakfast, and James needs his shirt mended, and the baby needs Margaret, and the field needs tending, and the rent is due. Always the rent is due. So you get up, you go to the field, you bend and lift and haul, you work until you literally cannot work anymore, and then tomorrow you do it again. This is life. For you, for William, for the hundreds of families scattered across this valley and the next valley and the valley beyond that. All of you working land you'll never own. All of you pouring your lives into soil that will never yield quite enough. All of you knowing that your children will inherit this same life unless something changes, unless you change it. The field stretches out before you, endless rows of struggling plants. Behind you, the cottage that isn't yours. Around you, the land that will never be yours. Above you, a grey Ulster sky that promises rain. You wipe your forehead with the back of your hand and keep going. Not because you're strong, not because you're noble, but because stopping means starving, and you're not ready to starve. Not yet. But maybe there's another way. Maybe William's right. Maybe Margaret's right. Maybe across that ocean there's something better. Or maybe there's just a different kind of hell waiting. Hard to say. For now, you've got potatoes to dig. And after that, there's peat to cut. And after that, Margaret will need help hauling water. And after that, if you're lucky, there will be oats for supper and a few hours of sleep before you start all over again. This is October 1716. You don't know it yet, but in 2 years, everything will change. In 2 years, you'll be standing on a dock in Lorne, watching a ship called the William and Elizabeth being loaded with cargo and people. People just like you. People who've had enough. People who've decided that anything at all is better than one more year of this. But that's 2 years away. Right now, you've just got today. Just this field, just these potatoes, just the ache in your back and the hunger in your belly and the impossible hope buried deep in your chest that maybe, somehow, life doesn't have to be like this forever. The final straw comes in March of 1718. Crawford rides up on his horse. That same expensive horse, same sweaty face, but this time he's got papers, official-looking papers with seals and signatures. "Oh, rent's going up," he announces, doesn't even dismount, just sits up there on his horse looking down at you like you're something he stepped in. "New rate takes effect next quarter. Landlord's orders. You're holding a spade. Your hands tighten on it. How much? 30%. 30%. You literally cannot afford that. It's not a matter of tightening your belt or working harder. The math doesn't work. Even if you sold everything you own, even if you gave him every single oat you harvest, it wouldn't be enough. That's impossible, you say. Your voice sounds strange, hollow. Crawford shrugs. Lots of folk wanting land. If ye canny pay, someone else will. He wheels his horse around. "Good day to ye." And he's gone. Just like that. Your entire life upended in 30 seconds. Margaret is standing in the doorway. She heard. Of course she heard. When Crawford talks, the whole valley hears. "We're leaving," she says. Not a question, a statement. "Aye," you say. "We're leaving." Within a week, half the valley has made the same decision. There's going to be a ship, the William and Elizabeth, sailing from Larne in July, going to Boston. The cost is £5 per adult, 3 for children. You don't have £5, you don't have £3, you barely have 3 shillings. So you do what you have to do. You indenture yourself. Here's how it works. You sign a paper. This paper says that when you arrive in America, you'll work for whoever pays your passage. 7 years, maybe 5 if you're lucky. You'll get food and shelter. That's it. No wages. No freedom to leave. Just work. The alternative is staying here and starving. So really, it's not much of a choice. William's coming too, and his wife, and the McDowell family from the next farm over, and the Hendersons and the Campbells. There's going to be maybe 70, 80 people from your area alone on this ship, all of you running from the same thing, all of you hoping for the same thing. You sell the pig, get £2 for it, should have gotten 3, but the buyer knows you're desperate. Desperate people don't negotiate well. You sell Margaret's spinning wheel, her grandmother's spinning wheel. She cries when it goes, doesn't make a sound, just stands there with tears running down her face while some merchant loads it onto his cart. You sell your spade, your father's spade, the only thing of his you still had. By the time you've sold everything that isn't nailed down, you've got enough for passage for yourself and Margaret. The kids go as part of your indenture. Whoever buys your contract gets a whole family of workers. What a deal. The walk to Larne takes 3 days. You, Margaret, the 3 kids. Everything you own is in 2 cloth bags. That's it. Your entire life. 2 bags. Annie's shoes finally fell apart on day 2. You carry her the rest of the way. She's not heavy. That's the problem. She should be heavier. None of you should be this light. July in Lorne is chaos. The docks are packed, not just with people from your valley, but from everywhere. Hundreds of families. Maybe 1,000 people all trying to get on ships, all trying to get anywhere that isn't here. The William and Elizabeth is smaller than you expected, way smaller. It's maybe 60 feet long. You count the people waiting to board. 200, easy. 200 people are supposed to fit on this thing. That's not possible, Margaret says. She's holding the baby. Little John. He's 8 months old. Too young for this. Way too young. It's possible, William says. He's standing next to you. It's just going to be miserable. He's not wrong. The ship's captain is a man named Wilson. Thin face, hard eyes. He's done this run a dozen times. You can tell he's already tired of all of you, and you haven't even left yet. Below deck, he barks. Families to the left, single men to the right. You get 4 feet of space. That's it. 4 feet. Make it work. 4 feet. For a family of 5. Below deck is dark, really dark. There's maybe 2 small hatches that let in light for 200 people. The ceiling is so low you can't stand up straight. You're bent over, shuffling along, trying to find your 4 feet of space. The smell hits you immediately. Tar, bilge water, human waste. And this is before the voyage even starts, before 200 people have been crammed down here for 6 weeks. Your space is against the hull. The wooden planks are rough, unfinished. There's no mattress, no straw, just wood. This is where you'll sleep, where Margaret will sleep, where the kids will sleep for 6 to 8 weeks. James looks up at you. He's 7, old enough to understand. Papa? It's an adventure, you tell him. You're lying. You're both aware you're lying. The ship doesn't leave for 2 more days. Those 2 days are practice for hell. 200 people crammed below deck while they load cargo, barrels of water, sacks of oats, salted fish, rope, tar, everything stacked and packed and wedged into every available space. You're not allowed above deck except for 1 hour a day. 1 hour. And only when the weather's good. The rest of the time, you're down here in the dark with 200 other desperate people. The kids are already crying. Not just your kids, all the kids, babies screaming, toddlers wailing, parents trying to soothe them with nothing to offer but empty promises. Margaret clutches baby John to her chest. We can still leave, she whispers. We could go back. Back to what? You ask. And she doesn't answer because there is no answer. Finally, on July 29th, 1718, the William and Elizabeth leaves port. You're allowed on deck for the departure. Everyone is. 200 people crowded onto a deck that should hold maybe 50. You watch Ulster disappear behind you. The green hills, the grey sky, everything you've ever known getting smaller and smaller until it's just a dark line on the horizon. And then it's gone. You're on the open ocean now, nothing but water in every direction. The ship feels impossibly small, like a toy, like something a child made and set floating in a puddle. How is this supposed to get you across an entire ocean? Below deck, Captain Wilson shouts. Everyone below. Back into the darkness. Back into the smell. Back into your 4 feet of space. The first week is the worst, or maybe you just think it's the worst because you don't know yet how bad it's going to get. Seasickness hits everyone. The ship rolls and pitches. Your stomach lurches. You throw up. Everyone throws up. There's not enough buckets, not enough anything. The smell becomes indescribable. The water rations start immediately. Each person gets about a pint a day. A pint. That's it. And it's not even clean water. It's got vinegar mixed in to keep it from going completely foul. Tastes like someone pissed in it. You drink it anyway because the alternative is dying of thirst. Food is oats. Surprise. You left Ulster to escape oats, and here you are eating oats on a boat, except these oats are worse. They're dry. Hard. You have to soak them in your water ration to make them soft enough to chew. The kids hate them. You hate them. Everyone hates them. Twice a week, you get salt fish. It's so salty it makes your tongue hurt. But it's protein. It's something. I heard someone died last night, William says. It's week 2. You're on deck for your 1 hour of air. The sun feels like a miracle. Who? Don't know. One of the families from Armagh. Baby, I think. Your blood goes cold. You look at Margaret. She's holding John. He's been fussy. Won't eat. Won't sleep. Just cries and cries. It's probably nothing. You tell her. It's not nothing. By week 3, 5 people have died. 2 babies, an old man, a woman who was pregnant, a young boy who got some kind of fever that burned him up in 2 days. They wrap the bodies in cloth and slide them over the side. The captain says a few words, mostly just, "May God have mercy on their souls." And then, splash, gone. Buried at sea, which is just a nice way of saying drowned and eaten by whatever lives down there in the dark. John gets worse. He's burning up with fever. His little face is red and his breathing sounds wrong, wet, rattling. "We need a doctor," Margaret says. She's been saying it for days. "There is no doctor," you tell her. Again, there's no doctor. There's barely a captain. There's just 200 people crammed in a floating box hoping they don't die before they reach land. You try everything. Wet cloths on his forehead, keeping him in the shade, giving him extra water from your own ration, which means you're getting less, which means you're always thirsty. Always. On day 23 of the voyage, John dies. He just stops breathing. 1 minute he's there struggling, fighting, the next minute he's not. Margaret doesn't scream, doesn't cry. She just holds him, rocks him, like he's sleeping, like any minute he'll wake up. "Margaret," you say. Your voice cracks. "Love, we have to." "No, we have to." They take him at sunset. Captain Wilson won't let you keep a body below deck. "Disease," he says. "Risk to everyone else." You wrap John in the only cloth you have. Margaret's shawl, the nice one she'd saved, the one her mother made, and you carry him up to the deck. The sun is setting. The ocean is flat and grey. Nothing but water, nothing but endless, empty water. Wilson says the words, "May God have mercy on his soul," and you drop your baby into the ocean. He doesn't make much of a splash. He's so small. Margaret turns away, walks back to the hatch, climbs below deck, doesn't say a word. You stand there, watching the water, watching the sunset, thinking about how you sold everything, left everything, crossed an ocean, and for what? Your baby's dead, your wife won't speak, your other kids are terrified, and you're still weeks from land. "It'll get better," William says. He's standing next to you. When did he get there? In America. It'll be better. You want to believe him. God, you want to believe him. But right now, standing on this deck, watching the sun disappear, you're not sure you believe anything anymore. The voyage takes 52 days total. 52 days of darkness and sickness and death. By the time you see land, 9 people are dead. 9 people who started this journey and didn't finish it. The coast of New England appears on the horizon. It's just a dark line at first. Then it's trees, actual trees, forests, land. Everyone who can stand comes on deck. 200 people staring at America like it's salvation, like it's heaven, like it's anything other than just another place where you'll have to work yourself to death trying not to starve. But at least it's land, solid land, land that doesn't roll and pitch, land where you can stand up straight, land where the air doesn't smell like piss and death. Boston Harbor is crowded, ships everywhere. The William and Elizabeth has to wait for a berth. You wait all day, staring at the city. It's bigger than anything you've ever seen. Buildings, docks, people everywhere. They'll be needing workers, someone says. That's why they let us come. They need us. Maybe, or maybe they just need bodies to fill space, bodies to work land, bodies to do the jobs nobody else wants. Hard to say. Either way, you're here now. You made it. You survived. Most of you anyway. Margaret still hasn't spoken, not since John died. She holds Annie and James close. Won't let them out of her sight. You don't push. What is there to say? The gangplank goes down. Captain Wilson stands at the top. "Welcome to the new world," he says. He doesn't sound like he means it. "God help you all." And one by one, you file off the ship, off the floating prison, off the thing that brought you here and took so much from you. Your legs don't work right. The ground feels like it's still moving. Everyone's stumbling around like drunks. The dock is chaos, people shouting, merchants, ship captains, and others, men in fine clothes, looking at you like you're livestock, because that's what you are now, livestock. You sold yourself, now someone's going to buy you. There's a system to this, you realise. The well-dressed men, they're plantation owners, farm owners, business owners. They're here looking for workers, cheap workers, free workers, basically. People who'll work for years for nothing but food and shelter. Some of them are decent, probably, treat their indentured servants fairly, give them good food, reasonable work hours, keep their promises about the 7 years. Others, not so much. You hear stories while you're waiting, whispered stories from people who've been here before, who are heading back to Ireland after their indenture was up. Stories about masters who work you 18 hours a day, masters who beat you if you complain, masters who extend your contract on any excuse, broke a tool, that's another year, got sick and couldn't work for a week, that's another 6 months. The legal system protects the masters, not you. Remember that. A man approaches, well-dressed, clean. He looks at you, at Margaret, at the kids. "You're indentured?" he asks. Voice is neutral, not kind, not cruel, just business. "Aye." "How many years?" 7. He nods, looks you up and down, checking your teeth like you're a horse, looking at your hands, your shoulders, seeing if you're worth the investment. "You look strong enough. Can you work land?" "I'm a farmer." "Were a farmer," he corrects. "Now you're mine for 7 years. Can you read?" The question surprises you. "No, sir." He seems pleased by this. Illiterate servants are easier to control, probably. Can't read their own contracts. Can't argue about what the papers say. "Your wife?" He's looking at Margaret now. She's holding Annie and James, one in each arm. "Won't. Look at him." "She can spin," you say. "Linen. Good at it." "Children old enough to work?" Your stomach turns. James is 7. Annie is 5. They're babies. But here, now, they're potential labour. "They can do light work," you hear yourself say, hating yourself for it. The man pulls out papers, a quill. "Here's the arrangement, 7 years' service. I pay your passage, all 5 of you. That's £16, I'm out. You work my land in Virginia. I provide food, shelter, basic clothing. You get Sundays off for church. At the end of 7 years, you get your freedom and 50 acres of land. That's the law. I follow the law." 50 acres. In 7 years, you could own 50 acres. That's more land than you could have dreamed of in Ulster. Sign here. You take the quill. Your hand is shaking. This is it. This is the moment. 7 years of your life signed away. But 7 years with an end. 7 years that lead to something. The signature is just an X. You can't write your name, so you make your mark. Good, the man says, doesn't smile, just rolls up the papers. Name's Caldwell, Robert Caldwell. My farm's in the Shenandoah Valley. You know where that is? No, sir. Virginia, west of the main settlements. Frontier country. We leave tomorrow. Wagon train heading south. Be ready at dawn. He hands you a token. Copper disc with his name stamped on it. Show this to the wagon master. He'll know you're mine. And he walks away. Just like that, you've been purchased, owned, you and your whole family. Margaret finally looks at you. Her eyes are empty. 50 acres, you say, trying to make it sound hopeful. In 7 years. In 7 years, she repeats, flat, hollow. If we survive 7 years, William comes over. His face is grim. I got bought too. Man named Peterson, farm in Pennsylvania, leaving in 3 days. So you're splitting up. You and William, after everything, after leaving Ulster together, after crossing the ocean together, after surviving everything, now you're going different directions. Pennsylvania's supposed to be good land, you say. Aye, and Virginia's supposed to be beautiful. He tries to smile, doesn't quite manage it. Maybe after 7 years, we'll both be landowners. Maybe we'll be neighbours again. Maybe. You both know it's not likely. 7 years is a long time. People die, things change. The odds of both of you surviving your indentures, getting your 50 acres, somehow finding each other again in this massive wilderness, not good. But at least you're here. At least you made it. At least you're alive. William clasps your hand, holds it. Take care of your family. You too. And then he's gone, walking toward his new master, walking toward Pennsylvania, walking out of your life. You look at Margaret, at Annie, at James, your family, what's left of your family. We should find somewhere to sleep tonight, you say, before we head to Virginia. Margaret nods, still not really talking, still somewhere far away in her head, probably still with John, still seeing his little face, still feeling his weight in her arms. You find a spot near the docks, not much of a spot, just some wooden crates stacked up that provide a windbreak, but it's something. You huddle there with your family, your 2 cloth bags, your copper token that says you belong to Robert Caldwell now. The city is loud, even at night. People everywhere, voices in languages you don't recognize, the smell of smoke and salt water and garbage and fish. Nothing like Ulster, nothing like anything you've ever known. James falls asleep quickly, exhausted. Annie takes longer. She keeps asking questions. Where's the house, Papa? When can we have a real bed? When do we eat something that isn't oats? Soon, you tell her. All lies. Soon, sweetheart. Margaret doesn't sleep, just sits there staring at nothing. You put your arm around her. She doesn't respond, doesn't pull away, just sits. We're going to be all right, you whisper. More lies. Maybe, maybe not lies. Hard to say. Tomorrow you head to Virginia, to the Shenandoah Valley, to frontier country, to a place you've never seen, to work for a man you just met for 7 years with no guarantee of anything except that it'll be hard. But at least it's land. At least it's not Ulster. At least it's not Crawford riding up on his horse telling you the rent's going up again. At least it's a chance. You close your eyes, try to sleep. Can't. The ground is hard, the city is loud, your baby is dead, your wife is broken, your children are frightened, and you're about to spend 7 years as somebody else's property. But at least you're here, at least you made it, at least the journey is over. No. Wait. The journey's not over. The journey's just beginning, because this is Boston and you're not staying in Boston. Nobody wants workers in Boston. Too crowded already. Too many people. Where you're going is south. Way south. To places that don't even have names yet, to frontiers, to mountains, to places so wild and dangerous that the only people who'll go there are people like you, people who have nowhere else to go. Dawn comes too early. Caldwell's wagon train is 20 wagons strong, families, single men, all heading south. Some are indentured like you, others are freemen who've saved enough to buy land. Those ones look at you different, like you're less than, which legally you are. The wagons are packed with supplies, tools, seeds, barrels of salt pork, sacks of corn, everything needed to start farms in places where there are no farms yet, where there's nothing but trees and mountains and whatever the hell else is out there. You don't get a wagon. Indentured servants walk. Caldwell makes that clear right away. The wagons are for supplies and the families who've paid for passage, your cargo that walks. So you walk, you and Margaret and the kids, your 2 cloth bags over your shoulder. Annie starts crying after the first hour. Her feet hurt, she's hungry, she's tired. You carry her, then your shoulder hurts, then you put her down and she cries more. This is going to be a long trip. The road south is barely a road, more like a dirt path that's been travelled enough times that the grass gave up growing. It's late summer now, August, hot, humid, not like Ulster where it was always cool and damp. Here the heat sits on you like a blanket you can't shake off. James tries to be brave. He's 7, old enough to know he needs to be strong, but you can see it in his face. The fear, the exhaustion, the way he keeps looking back toward Boston like maybe they can still go back. There is no going back. The other indentured families keep to themselves mostly. Nobody wants to make friends. What's the point? You're all going to different places, different masters, different futures. Better to just keep your head down and survive the journey. But there's one family, the Andersons. They're Scottish, from the lowlands, came over on a different ship but ended up in the same situation. John Anderson and his wife Kate. They've got 2 boys, older than your kids, maybe 9 and 11. Where's Caldwell taking you? John asks. It's day 3 of the journey. You're stopped for the night. Everyone's exhausted. Shenandoah Valley. You? Same. We're all going to the same place, looks like. Valleys opening up. They need workers to clear land. Clear land. That means trees. Endless trees. Bigger than anything you've ever seen. You've caught glimpses of the forests you're passing through. Trees that would take 5 men holding hands to circle. Trees that stretch up so high you can't see the tops, and you're supposed to cut them down with axes, while also planting crops and building shelters and somehow not starving or dying. Fun times ahead. You ever done this kind of work? You ask John. Farming? This? He gestures at the wilderness around you. No, nobody has. That's why they need us. Free men won't come out here. Too dangerous. Too hard. But people like us? We don't have a choice. He's right. The free settlers, the ones with money, they're staying closer to the coast, where there are towns, where there's protection, where you can get help if things go wrong. The frontier, that's for desperate people, people who are willing to risk everything because they've already lost everything. The journey takes 3 weeks, 3 weeks of walking through heat and dust and occasionally rain that turns the path into mud. 3 weeks of eating whatever the wagon train provides, which is mostly corn mush and sometimes salt pork if you're lucky. Annie gets sick around day 10. Fever. You're terrified it's what killed John, but it breaks after 2 days. She's weak, but she lives. Small blessings. Margaret still isn't talking much. She walks, she tends the kids, she does what needs doing, but she's somewhere else. Somewhere you can't reach. You try once. We're going to be all right, you tell her. It's night. The kids are asleep. You're lying on the ground, staring up at stars you don't recognize. She doesn't respond, just closes her eyes. You don't try again. The Shenandoah Valley is beautiful, you'll give it that. Mountains on both sides, a river running through it, trees everywhere. The soil looks dark and rich, not like the rocky clay of Ulster. This is real soil that might actually grow things. But it's also empty, like really empty. There's a settlement, if you can call it that, maybe 10 families, maybe 15 rough log cabins, cleared fields that are mostly stumps, a single path that serves as the main road. This is civilization out here. This is what you fought for. This is freedom. Caldwell's farm is 2 miles from the settlement, or what will be his farm anyway. Right now it's just forest, endless forest. He's got a claim on 500 acres. The British Crown gives out land grants to encourage settlement. 500 acres sounds like a fortune until you realise you have to clear every inch of it yourself. There's a cabin. One cabin, about 20 feet by 20 feet, log walls, dirt floor, a hole in the roof for smoke. This is where you'll live. You and the Andersons and 2 other indentured families, 12 people total in a space the size of your cottage in Ulster. Get settled, Caldwell says. He's not staying here. He's staying in the settlement in an actual house. Start clearing tomorrow. I want 20 acres ready for planting by spring. 20 acres. That's roughly 800,000 square feet of forest that needs to be cut down, roots pulled up, stumps removed, soil turned and made ready for crops in 6 months with hand tools. That's not possible, John Anderson says. He's standing next to you, staring at the trees. It's possible, you say. It's just going to kill us. That first night in the cabin is rough. 12 people in one room. No beds, just the floor, no blankets beyond what people brought, no furniture, no nothing. The kids huddle together for warmth. The adults do the same. You can hear people crying, quiet crying, the kind where you're trying not to let anyone else hear, but everyone hears anyway. This is what you traded Ulster for. This is the promise of the new world. This is freedom. Dawn comes and Caldwell's overseer shows up. His name is Briggs. Hard face, harder eyes. He's a free man who works for Caldwell managing the indentured servants. Basically, he makes sure you're working hard enough and not trying to run away. Tools are in the wagon, Briggs says. Axes, saws, spades. You break a tool that's added to your contract. You lose a tool that's added to your contract. You understand? Everyone nods. Good. Start with the trees closest to the cabin. Work your way out. I want to see progress every day. Every day. And that's it. That's your introduction to frontier life. Here's some axes. Start cutting. The trees are massive, way bigger than anything in Ireland. An oak back home might be 2 feet across. Here, 4 feet, 5 feet. Some of them are 6 feet across. Solid wood, ancient wood, and you're supposed to cut them down with an axe. John Anderson takes the first swing. The axe bounces off, barely makes a dent. Hell, he mutters. It takes 3 men a full day to bring down one large tree, and once it's down, you've got to cut it into manageable pieces. Then you've got to move those pieces, and the stump stays. You can't pull a stump that size, not without oxen or horses, which you don't have, so you work around it. This is going to take years, not months. Years. But you don't have years. You have until spring. So you work 14 hours a day, 6 days a week. Sundays you're supposed to rest, go to church, except there's no church, there's no anywhere. So Sunday becomes the day you repair tools and tend your own small garden plot that Briggs lets you keep for vegetables. The work destroys your body. Your hands blister. The blisters pop. They blister again. Eventually they callus so thick you can barely bend your fingers. Your shoulders ache constantly. Your back seizes up. You're 24 years old and you move like you're 50. But you're not the only one suffering. Margaret works too. The women work. Not cutting trees, but cooking, preserving food, tending gardens, hauling water, making clothes, doing every other job that keeps people alive. Annie and James help where they can, carrying small branches, fetching water, stirring pots. They're too young for this, way too young, but childhood is a luxury nobody can afford out here. September turns to October. The leaves change colour, red and gold and orange. It's beautiful in a way that makes you angry. How can it be beautiful when everything hurts? How can nature be putting on a show when you're dying by inches? The temperature drops. You need warmer clothes. You don't have warmer clothes. You've got what you wore on the ship and that's it. Kate Anderson knows how to sew. She makes a deal with Briggs. She'll make him a shirt if he'll give the indentured families some fabric. He agrees. She makes shirts for all the kids. Rough fabric. Poorly cut. But warm. Warmer than what they had. You try to thank her. She waves it off. We're all we've got out here. She's right. The settlement doesn't want you. You went there once, to the trading post, tried to buy some supplies with the few coins you'd saved. The owner looked at you like you were dirt. You're indentured? I? Caldwell know you're here? He didn't say I couldn't come. The man laughed. Indentured servants don't buy things. Go back to your work. So that's how it is. You're less than, lower than free settlers, barely above slaves. Actually, you might be below slaves because at least slaves are valuable property. You're just temporary labour. By November, you've cleared maybe 5 acres. 5. You need 20. You're working as hard as you possibly can and you're failing. Everyone knows it. Briggs knows it. Caldwell knows it. You know it. He's going to extend our contracts, John says. It's night. You're sitting by the fire, too tired to sleep somehow. You say. Probably. That's not legal. Who's going to stop him? There's no magistrate out here. No law, just him and us. And he's got the papers. John stares into the fire. I didn't cross an ocean for this. None of us did. But here you are anyway, because turning back isn't an option. Running away isn't an option. Briggs made that clear the first week. You run, we hunt you, we find you, we add 3 years to your contract. We don't find you, well, the wilderness gets you anyway. The wilderness. That's the other thing. You're not alone out here. There are animals, bears, wolves, elk, and according to Briggs, there are also natives, Cherokee, Shawnee, other tribes whose names you don't know. They don't like us being here, Briggs said. This is hunting land, their hunting land, but the Crown says it's ours now, so that's that. Except it's not that simple. You've seen signs, tracks, a camp that looked recent. Once you found an arrow stuck in a tree near your work site. Nobody said anything about the arrow. You all just worked a little faster that day. Winter hits hard. Harder than Ulster, somehow. It's different here. The cold is sharper, cuts through your clothes, and there's snow, real snow. Not the dusting you'd get in Ireland. This is feet of snow, piles of it. The cabin is freezing. You've got 1 fireplace and 12 people, and not enough wood because you've been too busy clearing land to stockpile firewood. You burn green wood. It smokes, fills the cabin with smoke. Everyone's coughing all the time. James gets sick, really sick. Lung sickness. The coughing sounds wet, sounds like John did on the ship. Margaret finally speaks. Not again, she says. First words in months. I'm not losing another child. She stays with James day and night. keeps him warm, forces him to drink water, feeds him broth when he can keep it down. She wills him to live through sheer stubbornness, and somehow he pulls through. The fever breaks, the cough eases. He's weak as a kitten, but he's alive. Margaret cries, actually cries. First time since John died. She holds James and cries, and you hold both of them, and for the first time in months you feel something other than exhaustion. Maybe you can survive this. Maybe. Christmas comes. Nobody celebrates. There's nothing to celebrate with. No special food, no gifts, no church service. Just another day of being cold and hungry and tired. But Kate Anderson makes a stew, uses some of the precious salt pork, adds wild onions she'd gathered in the fall, makes enough for everyone. And for one meal, one single meal, you're all sitting together eating something that actually tastes good. To surviving, John says. Raises his wooden cup of water like it's wine. To surviving, everyone echoes. It's not much, but it's something. Out here, something is everything. January is brutal, February is worse, the food runs low, the corn is gone, the salt pork is gone, you're eating roots, wild plants, anything Kate or the other women say is safe to eat. You lose weight, everyone loses weight. Annie's little face gets thin, her eyes look too big. James can't work anymore, doesn't have the strength. You're down to one meal a day, sometimes less. Your stomach hurts all the time. Hunger isn't just discomfort, it's pain, physical pain that never stops. Spring's coming, you tell the kids, lying again, always lying. Spring's coming, and we'll plant crops and things will get better. Annie looks at you with those two big eyes. You promise, Papa? I promise. You're lying. You have no idea if things will get better. You have no idea if you'll even see spring. But what else can you say? March brings rain. The snow melts. The cabin leaks. Everything's wet. Everything's mouldy. But the temperature rises. You can work without your hands going numb. That's progress. Caldwell shows up in April, first time all winter. He looks at the cleared land, 5 acres. Maybe 6, if you're generous. This is all. His voice is cold, flat. Sir, the winter was hard. John starts to explain. I don't care about the winter. I said 20 acres by spring. This is 6. We did our best. Your best isn't good enough. Caldwell pulls out papers. Your contract. This says 7 years, but you failed to meet your obligations, so I'm adding 2 years. Each 2 years. Just like that. 7 became 9. 9 years of this. That's not legal, John says. His voice is shaking. You can't just add time. I can, and I did. You want to argue? Go ahead. Nearest magistrate is in Winchester, 60 miles east, and he happens to be my cousin. Good luck with that. Caldwell leaves. 12 of you stand there in the mud and the rain, staring at the 6 acres of stumps and cleared ground that just cost you 2 years of your lives. We should run, one of the men says. Just take off into the woods. And go where? John asks. We've got no money, no supplies, no idea how to survive in the wilderness. We'd be dead in a week. He's right. You're trapped, not by chains, not by walls, but by circumstance, by lack of options, by the simple fact that this is still better than dying. So you don't run, you go back to work, because that's what you do. That's all you can do. You survive, you endure. You keep going, because stopping means dying, and you're not ready to die. Not yet. Not after everything. Not after crossing an ocean. Not after losing John. Not after watching Margaret break and slowly, painfully put herself back together. Not after nearly losing James. You've come too far to quit now, even if too far just means you're stuck in place. Even if freedom is still 9 years away. Even if you're not sure you'll survive 9 years. You've got no choice but to try. Year 3, that's what you call it now, not 1720. Just year 3 of 9, maybe 10 if Caldwell decides you haven't worked hard enough again, but something's changed. You've changed. Your body's different, harder, leaner, your hands are leather now, scars everywhere. You can swing an axe for 12 hours without your arms giving out. You can tell good timber from bad just by looking. You know which trees will fall clean and which ones will twist and try to kill you. You're not a farmer anymore. You're something else, something tougher. The settlement's grown. There's maybe 30 families now, a proper trading post, a blacksmith, even a preacher who comes through once a month. It's still rough, still dangerous, but it's less like you're gonna die any second. Caldwell's land is different too. You've cleared 15 acres now, planted corn, wheat, some vegetables. The stumps are still there, but you work around them. The crops aren't great, but they're enough that you're not starving anymore. That's progress. But here's the thing about clearing 15 acres of forest. You've killed a lot of animals. Deer mostly. They live in the forest. You cut down the forest. They wander into your cleared land looking for food. You kill them because fresh meat is fresh meat. And Briggs says anything you hunt, you can keep. First time you killed a deer was year 1. Pure accident. You were hauling wood and this buck just stood there staring at you. You grabbed the axe, threw it, somehow hit the thing in the neck. It went down. You stared at it for a full minute, shocked you'd actually done it. Then you butchered it. Badly. Wasted half the meat because you didn't know what you were doing. But the half you saved fed 12 people for 3 days. John Anderson saw you do it. "We need guns," he said. "Can't keep throwing axes at deer. Guns cost money. Everything costs money. Doesn't mean we don't need them." He was right. Out here, a gun isn't a luxury. It's survival, for hunting, for protection, for everything. Briggs has a gun, an old musket he's had forever. He uses it to hunt sometimes. You watch him. Watch how he moves through the woods, how he tracks, how he waits. "You want to learn?" he asks one day, catches you watching. I'll teach you, but you owe me." "Owe you what?" "Whatever I decide. Deal? You don't have a choice. Deal." Briggs teaches you to hunt, really hunt. Not just stumble across deer and throw things at them. He shows you how to read tracks, how to move quiet, how to wait, how to aim. The musket is heavier than you expected. Kicks like a mule when you fire it. First shot you take, you miss completely. Hit a tree about 10 feet to the left of the deer you were aiming at. "You're jerking the trigger," Briggs says. "Squeeze, don't pull. Second shot is better. Still miss, but closer. Third shot, a week later, you drop a doe at 30 yards. Clean shot. She goes down immediately. The feeling is strange. Not pride exactly. More like relief, like you've unlocked something. A skill that might keep you alive. You're not terrible," Briggs says. High praise from him. Over the next months, you hunt whenever you can, early mornings before work, Sundays, any spare moment. You bring back deer, rabbits, turkey. Once you got lucky and killed an elk, that fed everyone for a week. But here's what you notice. The good hunting spots are always the same places. Near water, near the salt lick 3 miles north, in the meadow past the ridge. And these places, they're marked. Not obviously, but there are signs, cut branches, stones stacked in patterns, paths that are too well worn to be animal trails. Someone else hunts here, someone who was here first. You mention it to Briggs. "I've seen the signs." "Cherokee," he says. "This is their land, was their land. They still hunt here. Have you seen them? Once or twice. They mostly avoid us. We mostly avoid them. Best way to keep everyone alive. But you're curious. These people who know how to actually survive out here, who've been doing it for generations. You want to learn from them, want to understand what they understand." The first time you see one, it's early morning, you're tracking a deer, following blood trail through the woods, and there's a man just standing there, watching you. He's Cherokee, has to be, dressed in deerskin, carries a musket, same as you, younger than you maybe. Hard to tell. You freeze. Your gun is loaded, but it's pointing at the ground. His gun is also pointing at the ground. Both of you just staring at each other. Nobody moves for what feels like an hour, probably 30 seconds. Then he points down the trail, where the blood drops are leading. He's telling you the deer went that way, helping you. Thank you, you say, not sure if he understands English. He nods once, turns, disappears into the trees like he was never there. You find the deer 20 yards further. It's dead, still warm. You feel dress it quick, constantly looking around, expecting something. You don't know what, but nothing happens. You carry the deer back to camp. Tell John what you saw. You're lucky he didn't kill you, John says. He could have, didn't. Maybe he was deciding whether it was worth the bullet. Maybe. Or maybe things aren't as simple as everyone says. Maybe the Cherokee aren't just savages waiting to murder settlers. Maybe they're just people trying to survive, same as you. You see him again 2 weeks later, same spot, same early morning. This time you're not tracking anything, just scouting, learning the land. He steps out from behind a tree. You jump, nearly shoot him by accident. He holds up a hand, not threatening, just wait. Then he gestures, follow. Every instinct says no, says run, says this is how you die. But something else says yes, says maybe this is how you learn. You follow. He leads you about a mile north, to a spot you've never been. There's a creek, and along the creek there are stones, arranged in a weir, a fish trap. He gestures at it, showing you how it works. Fish swim upstream, get funneled into the trap, can't get out. You just reach in and grab them. You built this, you ask? He shakes his head, points upstream. More traps, dozens probably, built by his people, used for generations. Can I? You gesture at the trap, asking permission. He nods. You reach in, grab 3 fat trout, food you didn't have to hunt for, food that just sits there waiting. He watches you, makes sure you're not taking too many. You take 3 and stop. Seems right. Thank you, you say. Wado. You'd heard that word somewhere. Cherokee for thank you. Probably said it wrong, but you tried. Something changes in his face. Not quite a smile, but close. He nods. You bring the fish back to camp. Clean them. Cook them. They taste like freedom. Where'd you get these? Kate asks. Creek, you say. Don't mention the Cherokee. Not yet. Not sure why. But from then on, you go back to that creek. Not every day, don't want to overhunt it, but regularly. And sometimes he's there, the Cherokee. You don't know his name. He doesn't know yours, but you're not enemies. You're something else. He teaches you things. Without words, mostly. Shows you which plants are edible, which ones are poison. Shows you how to find bee trees, how to collect hickory nuts, how to set snares for rabbits. You teach him things too, how to repair a musket lock, how to use an axe more efficiently. Trade, that's what this is, trade. One day he brings another man, older, his father maybe, or uncle. The older man looks at you for a long time, suspicious, evaluating. Then he speaks in English, heavily accented but clear. You are Eamon. You're shocked. How do you know my name? We watch. We know who lives here. You work for Caldwell. Aye. Caldwell is not good man. You can't argue with that. No, he's not. The older man nods, seems satisfied. You hunt careful. Take only what you need. This is good. Some white men, they kill everything. Waste meat. This is bad. I only take what I can use. Yes, we see. This is why we help you. He gestures at the younger man. His name is Tsali. He says you are honest. He says you can be trusted. Tsali. Finally, a name. Thank you, you say, for teaching me, for the fish. The older man studies you again. Your people want all our land, your chiefs, your kings. But you? He shakes his head. You just want to live, same as us. So we teach you, so maybe you survive, so maybe some of you learn. And then they're gone, back into the forest, like ghosts. But after that, things are different. You're not just stumbling through the wilderness anymore. You're learning it, understanding it. The land isn't your enemy, it's just the land. You learn to work with it instead of against it. Charlie shows you the deer trails, the real ones. Shows you where they bed down, where they feed. Shows you the salt lick they prefer. Suddenly, you're hunting smart, bringing back meat regularly. Your family eats better. Everyone in the cabin eats better. You share with Tsali. When you kill a deer, you leave a haunch at the creek. By the next day it's gone. When you check your snares, sometimes there's already a rabbit in one. But there's also wild onions nearby that weren't there before. Trade, the other men notice. How are you getting so much game? One asks. I'm learning the land. Teach us. So you do. You show them the salt licks, the trails, the good hunting spots. You teach them what Tsali taught you. Some of them take to it, some don't. John's good at it, has a natural sense for tracking. Briggs notices too. You're bringing in more meat than anyone. How? Practice. He doesn't believe you, but he doesn't push. As long as the work gets done and people are fed, he doesn't care how. Year 4 passes, then year 5. You're getting good at this life. Not comfortable, never comfortable, but competent. You know how to survive winter now, know how to preserve meat, know which roots to dig in fall, know how to tan hides. The hides, that's where things get interesting. You've been using deer skins for clothes, for blankets, for everything, but there's more skins than you need, way more, and in the settlement people buy them. One skin goes for $1. $1, they call it. That's where the term comes from. You learn. $1 equals 1 deer skin equals $1. You've got maybe 20 skins you don't need. That's $20. More money than you've ever had in your life. What are you going to do with that? Margaret asks. She's better now. Talks again. Smiles sometimes. Still sad. Probably always will be. But functional. Present. Save it, you say. For after. After, when the 9 years are up, when you're free, when you get your 50 acres, you'll need money then, need supplies, need everything, so you save. Other men start hunting more too, start tanning hides, start selling them. There's a whole economy forming around deer skins. The traders in the settlement ship them east, to Philadelphia, to New York, eventually to England. Fashion there, apparently. Ladies want leather gloves, deerskin gloves. So, your suffering, your hunting, your hard work in the Appalachian wilderness ends up as some rich lady's gloves in London. Strange world. But you don't care where they go. You care that they're worth money, that each buck you earn gets you closer to freedom, to land, to something that's actually yours. Year 6. You're 30 now. Feel 50. Look 40, probably. Margaret's 28. James is 13. Annie's 11. They're not kids anymore. They work. Really work. James can swing an axe almost as good as you. Annie can dress a deer faster than most of the men. Your family is surviving. More than surviving. You're building something. Not much. Not yet. But something. And the land. You know the land now. Every creek, every ridge, every valley. You know where the deer gather in winter, where the turkey roost, where the best fishing is, where the blackberries grow thick in summer. This place is starting to feel like home. Not like Ulster, nothing like Ulster, but home in a new way. Earned, hard won, yours in a way that rented land never was. Tsali approves. you can tell. He nods when he sees you, brings his sons sometimes, young boys who watch you with curiosity. You show them how to fix a broken axe handle. They show you how to cool turkey. More Cherokee come around. They're curious about the settlers who aren't trying to kill them or steal everything, who hunt respectfully, who trade fairly, who learn instead of just taking. The older man, you learn his name is Agan, brings you a gift. A knife, beautiful knife, bone handle, blade made from traded steel sharpened to a razor edge. You are friend, Agan says. Friends give gifts. You don't have anything worthy to give back, but you make him a metal tool. Use Briggs's forge when he's not looking. It's crude but functional, a scraper for tanning hides. Agan accepts it. Nods. Good trade. Not everyone is happy about this friendship. Some of the other settlers mutter, "You're getting too friendly with the savages. They don't understand, don't want to understand, but you don't care. These savages have taught you how to survive, have fed your family, have treated you with more respect than Caldwell ever has. Briggs doesn't care either. Long as the work gets done and nobody dies, you can be friends with whoever you want." 3 years left. 3 years until freedom, 3 years until 50 acres of your own, 3 years until you're not property anymore. You can make it. You've made it this far. Through death, through near starvation, through winters that tried to kill you, through masters who see you as nothing but tools. You've survived. And more than that, you've learned. Learned the land, learned to hunt, learned that the people everyone told you to fear might be the only honest friends you have out here. 3 more years. You can do 3 more years. You're sure of it now. Unlike your broken back and shaky hands, you have to do it now. The Appalachian Mountains stretch out around you. Misty in the morning, green and endless, dangerous, beautiful, home. Year 9 arrives faster than you expected and slower than you can stand. May 1727. That's the date on your freedom papers. Caldwell hands them over like he's doing you a favor, like he didn't just steal 9 years of your life. "You've completed your service," he says, formal, cold. "Your land grant is recorded with the Colonial Office, 50 acres on the western edge of the valley. It's yours. Yours." That word sounds fake, sounds impossible, but the papers are real. You read them yourself. Well, John reads them. You still can't read much. But John can, and he confirms it. 50 acres. Legal, owned, not rented, not borrowed, owned. Margaret cries, actually cries. First time in years you've seen her cry from something other than grief. "We're free," she says, like she can't believe it. "We're actually free." The Andersons get their papers too. Same day, you walk out of Caldwell's property together. 12 people who walked in as servants. 12 people who walk out as free settlers. Nobody says much, too big to talk about. You just walk, away from the cabin you've lived in for 9 years, away from the cleared land you've bled over, away from Caldwell, away from Briggs, away from all of it. Your 50 acres are 3 miles northwest, near the creek where Sally taught you to fish. That's not an accident. You requested this land specifically. Caldwell thought you were crazy. Nothing but forest up there. Good. You know forest. You know how to work it. The 4 families split up. The Andersons go east. The other 2 families go south and west. Everyone's got their 50 acres. Everyone's got their fresh start. You stand on your land, trees everywhere. A creek running through the northern edge. Rich soil. Good hunting. Perfect. "Where do we build?" James asks. He's 17 now, tall, strong, looks nothing like the scared 7-year-old who crossed the ocean. "Near the creek," you say. close to water, but high enough the spring floods won't reach us. You've been planning this for years, know exactly where the cabin goes, where the fields will be, where the barn will go if you ever get animals. Got it all mapped in your head. But first, you need tools, need supplies, need everything, because Caldwell gave you your freedom and your land grant and absolutely nothing else. Good thing you've been saving 23 deerskins worth of money. $23. It's not much, but it's something. You go to the trading post. Different now. You're not indentured anymore. You're a free landowner. The owner treats you different, calls you sir, asks what you need. Axe, saw, nails, seeds, a milk cow if you've got one cheap. He totals it up. $18. You hand over the money, watch it disappear. 9 years of savings gone in 5 minutes, but you've got tools, got seeds, got a scraggly cow that looks half dead but might survive if you're lucky. You'll need more than that, the owner says. Not unkind, just honest. Building a homestead takes years, and money. I'll hunt. He nods. Deerskins are still good trade. Beaver too if you can trap them. Otter, fox, anything with fur, we'll buy it. So that's the plan. Hunt, trap, tan hides. Trade them for what you need. Slowly, piece by piece, build a life. Building the cabin takes all summer, just you and James at first. Margaret and Annie help where they can, but most of the heavy work falls on you two. The cabin's small, 16 feet by 20 feet, one room, log walls using the notching method you learned watching others. No nails in the walls, just fitted logs, chinking between the logs with mud and moss. Roof made from split boards you cut yourself. It's rough, crude, not much to look at, but it's yours. You built it with your own hands on your own land, and nobody can take it from you. The door is just boards on leather hinges. The windows are holes covered with oiled paper. The floor is packed dirt. The fireplace is riverstone mortared with clay. But there's a loft where the kids can sleep. There's a root cellar dug underneath for storing food. There's a small barn, more of a shed, really, for the cow. It's beautiful, Margaret says. She's standing in the doorway, looking at this rough cabin like it's a palace. It's falling apart already, you say. The chinking's already cracking. The roof leaks in 3 places. It's ours, she says. That makes it beautiful. She's right. After 9 years of living in someone else's cabin, working someone else's land, eating someone else's food, this shabby little structure is the most beautiful thing you've ever owned. Planting season is late. You missed spring planting because you were still serving Caldwell, but you get corn in the ground in early summer, some beans, some squash. Won't be a huge harvest, but it'll be something. The cow, miracle of miracles, survives, even gives milk. Not much, maybe a pint a day, but it's milk, real milk. The kids drink it like it's liquid gold. Sally comes by a week after you move in, looks at your cabin, walks the property, nods approval. Good spot, he says. His English is better now. You've both been teaching each other. Creek never dries up. Good hunting near. Soil is good. Will your people mind me being here? He shrugs. This land was for hunting. Now is for farming. Times change. Your people keep coming like water. Can't stop water. He doesn't sound angry, just tired, realistic. I'll hunt careful. Only what I need. I know. This is why I teach you. He pauses. Others are not like you. Others kill everything, take everything. This is bad. He's talking about the new settlers. They're flooding in now. Every month, more families, more wagons, more people claiming land and cutting trees and pushing further west. The settlement has grown. Maybe 100 families now. A real church, a school, a proper blacksmith, even a tavern. It's becoming a town. And with more people comes more problems, more conflicts with the Cherokee. Some settlers don't care about hunting respectfully, don't care about taking too much, see the Cherokee as obstacles, not neighbors. There will be trouble, Tsali says. Soon. My chiefs are angry. Your chiefs want all our land. War is coming. When? I don't know. Years maybe, but coming. He looks at you seriously. When war comes, you will have to choose your people or friendship with us. You don't want to think about that. I hope it doesn't come to that. It will. He hands you something, a small carved figure, a bear. For your daughter. Agan made it. You take it. The craftsmanship is incredible. Every detail perfect. Tell Agan thank you. Tell him... What? Tell him what? That you're grateful? That you hope the war doesn't come? That you wish things were different? I'll tell him, Tsali says. Understands what you can't say. He leaves. You stand there holding the carved bear, feeling like the world is getting complicated in ways you can't control. But that's a problem for later. Right now, you've got a harvest to worry about. The corn comes in decent. Not great, but decent. Enough to eat. Enough to save seed for next year. The beans do well. The squash goes crazy, grows everywhere. You've got food. Real food. Food you grew on your own land. Margaret preserves everything she can, dries corn, smokes meat, stores roots in the cellar. She's been doing this for 9 years, but doing it for yourself feels different. Better. Annie's growing up. She's 15 now, pretty girl, quiet, takes after her mother. She helps with everything: cooking, preserving, tanning hides. She's got steady hands, good at detail work. One day a young man shows up, tall, dark hair, not much older than Annie. He's Cherokee, one of Sali's nephews. I am Wire, he says, struggling with English. My uncle, he says you are good man, says I can learn from you. Trade work for learning. You look at Margaret. She looks at Annie. Annie is very carefully not looking at anyone. Oh, so that's how it is. You want to learn what? You ask Wire. Metal work, English words, how white men build, how they farm. He hesitates. My people, we must learn, must change, or we die. This I understand. He's right. The Cherokee are caught between their old ways and the flood of settlers. Learn to adapt or get crushed. Harsh truth, but truth nonetheless. You can stay, you say. Help with work. I'll teach you what I know. Fair trade. Wire stays. Builds a small shelter near your cabin. Works hard. Never complains. Learns fast. His English improves. He picks up farming techniques, blacksmithing basics, carpentry. And he and Annie, they're careful, respectful, but you see the looks, the small smiles, the way they find excuses to work near each other. Margaret sees it too. What do we do? She asks, quiet. Just the two of you. Do about what? Don't play dumb. Annie and that boy. His name's Wire. I know his name. He's Cherokee, Eamon. She doesn't finish. If they what? Fall in love? Get married? Have children? You keep your voice low. Lots of traders marry Cherokee women. Lots of Cherokee men marry white women. It happens. That's different. Those are traders. Frontiersmen. We're settlers. We're people. They're people. If they care for each other, who am I to stop them? Margaret is quiet for a long time. Then, your children would be mixed, both and neither. Do you know how hard that is? Harder than crossing an ocean? Harder than watching our baby die? Harder than 9 years of servitude? You shake your head. I've seen hard, Margaret. Love isn't hard. Love is the easy part. She doesn't argue, just sighs, worried, like a mother should be. But nothing happens. Not yet. Annie's young. Wire's young. They're just circling, figuring out what they feel, what's possible. Winter comes. Your first winter in your own cabin. It's still brutal but different. This is your fireplace, your wood, your food in your cellar. The cold is the same, but the feeling isn't. James brings home a girl, Rebecca, her family settled 2 miles east, daughter of a free settler who came from Pennsylvania. Nice girl, shy, good cook according to James, which seems to be his main criteria. I want to marry her, James tells you. I'm 17, old enough. You are, you agree. You got land? Working on it. Land office says I can claim 50 acres adjacent to yours. I've started clearing it. Your boy, grown up, building his own life on land next to yours, the way it should be. Then marry her, you say. Build your cabin. Build your life. You've earned it. The wedding is small. Preacher from the settlement, a dozen families attending, food that people bring to share, music from a fiddle someone brought from Scotland 20 years ago. You watch James marry Rebecca and you think about how far you've come, from a sharecropper's son in Ulster to a landowner in America, from owning nothing to watching your son start his own farm on his own land. The land is filling up, more cabins going up, more fields being cleared. Every month there's news of someone new arriving, families from Ulster, from Scotland, from Germany, from everywhere, all of them looking for the same thing you were looking for: land, freedom, a chance. The deerskin trade is booming. Every fall, traders come through buying hides. You're bringing in 20-30 skins a year. That's $30, real money. You use it to buy a pig, some chickens, better tools, slowly accumulating the stuff you need. John Anderson stops by regularly. His farm is doing well. His boys are grown, starting their own places. The community is expanding, growing, becoming something real. Remember when we first got here, John says. You're sitting outside your cabin, smoking pipes. Thought we'd die that first winter. Nearly did. And now look, cabins everywhere, farms, families. We built this. He waves his pipe at the valley. Us and people like us, we built this. He's right. The valley is dotted with homesteads now. Smoke from dozens of chimneys, fields carved from forests, roads connecting it all, a church that serves the whole area, a school where Annie sometimes teaches the younger kids to read. This is civilization being built. Not by kings or lords or rich men, by people like you, people who cleared the land themselves, built the cabins themselves, made it work through sheer stubbornness. Think we'll ever go back? John asks. To Ulster? God, no. You? Not a chance. He laughs. Nothing there for us anyway. This is home now. Home, yeah. This rough valley, these misty mountains, this place you've bled for. This is home. Agon dies that winter. Old age, Sali says. Peaceful, but his death reminds you that time is passing. The old Cherokee who remembered life before the settlers, they're dying. The young ones like Wire, they're growing up in a world that's half Cherokee, half white settler. Mixed, changing, becoming something new. Annie and Wire stop pretending. They're together. Everyone knows it. Some families don't approve, talk behind their hands, but most people shrug. This is the frontier. Rules are different here. Survival matters more than scandal. They want to marry. You give your blessing. Margaret gives hers too, reluctantly but genuinely. The wedding is interesting. Half Christian ceremony, half Cherokee tradition. The preacher looks uncomfortable but does his job. Sali and his family attend. It's awkward. Nobody's sure of the protocol, but it happens. Your daughter marries a Cherokee man. Your grandchildren, if there are any, will be both. And that's just how it is now. This is Appalachia. This is the frontier. This is the mixing and merging and creating something new that nobody planned but everybody's living through. 5 years pass like water. Your cabin gets better. Addition built on the side. A real floor. Glass windows traded for at the post. A good barn. A smokehouse. Fields that produce decent crops. A small orchard planted. You're 41 now. Feel 60. Look 50. But you're alive. You're free. You own land. Your son has a farm next to yours. Your daughter has a husband and a baby on the way. You survived Ulster, survived the crossing, survived indenture, survived the wilderness, and now you're thriving. Not rich, never going to be rich, but comfortable, fed, warm, free. The mountains surround you, still wild in places, still dangerous, but also beautiful, also home. Also, the place where your family has a future. This is what you fought for. This is what you suffered for. This rough life in these misty mountains, this freedom, this land, this chance to build something that's yours. Was it worth it? The suffering? The death? The years of servitude? You look at James's cabin, at Annie's home she shares with Wire, at your own growing farm, at Margaret, older but happier, tending her garden. Yeah, it was worth it. 1750s arrive quiet but heavy. You're 56 now, white-haired, bent from decades of work. Your hands don't open all the way anymore. Arthritis, the doctor in town calls it. You call it the price of surviving. But you're still here, still working. James runs most of your farm now while managing his own. He's got 4 kids, your grandchildren. They call you Papaw in that mountain drawl that's developed out here. Not quite Irish, not quite English, something new. Annie's got 3 children with Wire. Beautiful kids, dark hair, eyes that could be either Cherokee or Scots-Irish depending on the light. They speak both languages, move between both worlds. It works most of the time. The valley's full now, maybe 300 families. The settlement's a proper town, called Lexington after some lord in England nobody here has ever met. Got a courthouse, a jail, multiple churches because apparently Presbyterians and Baptists and Methodists can't worship in the same building even though they're reading the same book. There's a gathering place
in the
now,
harsh spring of 1716, Scots-Irish tenants worked
for market days. Every Saturday, families come in from their homesteads, trade goods, swap news, argue politics. You go most Saturdays, not to trade much. You're past the age of needing to hustle for every penny, but to see people, hear what's happening. Remember that you're not alone out here. Rebecca finds you at the market. She's older now, got grey in her hair, but still sharp, still capable. Papa Eamon, she calls you. Never just Eamon, always Papa. Did you hear? The Hendersons are leaving. Leaving? Where? Further west, Kentucky. They say there's good land opening up past the Cumberland Gap. Kentucky. Everyone's talking about Kentucky now. A hunter named Daniel Boone came through last year, told stories about a paradise beyond the mountains, endless forests, herds of buffalo so large they take an hour to pass, land so rich you can grow anything. Sounds like the same promises that brought you to Ulster, the same promises that brought you to Virginia, but people believe him. Dozens of families have already gone, more planning to go. You thinking about going? You ask Rebecca. She laughs. Me? God, no. James neither. We're settled here. But the young ones, they're restless. Your grandson, William, he talks about Kentucky like it's heaven. William, James's oldest boy. 15, strong, fearless, stupid in the way 15-year-old boys are always stupid. Yeah. You can see him going west, chasing the same dream you chased. The dream never dies, just moves further west. Let him go, you say. Can't hold young men down. They need to find their own way. Spoken like someone who dragged his family across an ocean. She's not wrong. The market is busy. Farmers selling corn, wheat, vegetables, women selling preserved goods, jams, pickles, dried fruit. A blacksmith set up a stall taking orders for tools. Someone selling whiskey? Not legal whiskey, the mountain kind, the kind you don't pay taxes on because screw taxes. That's become a thing. Whiskey. Every farm's got a still hidden somewhere. You make it from your corn. It's worth more than selling the corn itself. A gallon of whiskey trades for more than a bushel of corn. Simple economics. The British keep trying to tax it, keep sending agents around to find the stills. Nobody cooperates. This is mountain country now. Appalachian country. People here don't take kindly to outsiders telling them what they can and cannot do with their own corn. You see Tsali across the market. He's old now too, grey-haired, walks with a limp from an old hunting injury, but still comes to trade. The Cherokee and the settlers have an uneasy peace. Lots of intermarriage now, lots of trade, but also lots of tension. The British keep pushing treaties, keep buying Cherokee land, keep moving the boundary line west. Each time they promise it's the last time, each time they're lying. Tsali knows it, you know it, everyone knows it. Your people take and take, Tsali says when you walk over, not angry, just tired. Soon there will be nothing left to take. I'm sorry. You are one man. Sorry does not stop a river. He gestures at the market, at the town, at everything. My grandchildren, they live like white men now, farm like white men, speak English, go to your churches. This is how we survive. We become you. There's pain in his voice, the pain of watching a culture die, of knowing his grandchildren won't live like he lived, won't know what he knows. The old ways are disappearing, being traded for axes and ploughs and whiskey. You don't know what to say. There's nothing to say. History is rolling forward like a boulder down a mountain, and all any of you can do is try not to get crushed. Come, Tsali says. Let us drink and pretend we are young men. You drink. Some settlers shine. Burns going down. Warms the belly. Makes the world fuzzy at the edges. You talk about hunting, about old times, about the first time you met when you were both young and dumb and thought you understood the world. You understand it less now than you did then. Age doesn't bring wisdom, just more questions. The town's growing political, people arguing constantly about the British, about the Crown, about taxes and laws and rights. There's talk of rebellion, serious talk. Some folks in Boston threw tea in the harbour. British soldiers shot people in the streets. Things are heating up. Most people in the valley don't care much about politics. They care about crops, about survival, about not dying. But the young ones, they care. They're angry. They see the British as just another landlord, another master, another person trying to control them. "We didn't cross mountains to bow to kings," one young man shouts at a gathering. He's maybe 20, red-faced, passionate. "This is our land. We built it. We bled for it. And we'll be damned if we let them tax it." People cheer. You just sit there. You've heard this speech before. Different words, same sentiment. People always want to be free, always willing to fight for it. Question is whether they're willing to pay the price. The price is always higher than you think. James comes to you one evening. "There's going to be war," he says. Everyone knows it. The question is what we do about it. "We survive it," you say. Like we survive everything. "I'm thinking of joining the militia when the fighting starts." Your stomach drops. You've got a family, 4 children, a farm. And if the British win, if they crush the rebellion, you think they'll let us keep any of this? They'll take it back, tax it, control it. We'll be tenants again, just like Ulster. He's right. You hate that he's right, but he is. If the Crown wins, people like you, people on the frontier, you'll be the first ones punished, the first ones brought to heel. "Do what you need to do," you tell him, "but come back. Your children need a father." "I plan to." Plans don't mean much when bullets are flying, but you don't say that. 1775. The shooting starts up north, Lexington and Concord. Nobody here cares much about Massachusetts. That's 1,000 miles away. Different world, but it matters because now it's real. Now there's actual war. The valley splits. Some folks are loyal to the crown. They've got investments back east, connections to British merchants. They want order, stability. They're not willing to risk everything on rebellion. Most folks, though, they're for independence, for telling the British to go to hell. These are people who left everything to come here, who built farms from wilderness, who've survived things that would kill softer men. They're not interested in bowing to anyone. The split tears families apart. Neighbours who've helped each other for decades suddenly won't speak. There are fights in the tavern. A few people get run out of town. Wyre's in an impossible position. He's married to your daughter, father to your grandchildren, but he's Cherokee. And the Cherokee, they're siding with the British, not because they love the crown, but because the British promised to stop westward expansion, promised to protect Cherokee land. It's a lie. You know it's a lie. Wyre knows it's a lie, but what choice do they have? The rebels want to push west, want to take Cherokee land and settle it. At least the British promised to stop that. Lies are better than certainties sometimes. I won't fight against you, Wyre tells you. He and Annie are visiting, tension in the air. But I can't fight for you either. I know, you say. Family first. Always family first. He nods, relieved. Annie holds his hand. She's torn between her people and his people, between her father and her husband. There's no good choice here. James joins the militia. So do both of John Anderson's boys. Half the young men in the valley sign up. They're not going north to fight, not yet, but they're training, drilling, getting ready. The British are trying to rally loyalists in the south, trying to split the colonies. If they can control the Carolinas and Virginia, they can strangle the rebellion, cut it off from supplies, from support. There's a British officer, Major Ferguson, Scottish, ironically. He's recruiting loyalists, building an army, threatening to march into the mountains and hang rebel leaders. The mountain men don't take kindly to threats. Someone threatens you, you don't run, you don't negotiate, you gather your neighbours, grab your rifles, and you make it very clear that threatening mountain people is a bad idea. September 1780. Word comes down. Ferguson's camped at a place called Kings Mountain, just over the border in South Carolina. He's got about 1,000 men, all loyalists, all armed. The call goes out. Every able-bodied man who can shoot and ride needs to gather. They're going to Kings Mountain. They're going to teach Ferguson what happens when you threaten Appalachian folk. James comes by before he leaves. I'll be back in a week, he says. Confident, young, stupid. You better be, you tell him. You want to say more, want to tell him to stay, to let someone else fight this war, but you can't. He's a man. He's made his choice. All you can do is let him go. Rebecca's face is pale. The children don't understand. They just know Papa's going away for a while. You watch him ride out with about 60 other men from the valley. They're heading for a rendezvous point, going to meet up with militia from Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee. All these mountain men converging on Ferguson. Some of them have rifles, good long rifles that can shoot accurately at distances no British musket can match. Some have regular muskets, some just have hunting rifles. All of them know how to shoot, how to track, how to fight in rough country. These aren't trained soldiers, they're farmers, hunters, men who've spent their lives fighting wilderness, fighting bears, fighting whatever tried to kill them, men who won't quit because quitting means dying, and they've been not dying for too long to start now. You don't sleep while he's gone. Can't. Just sit up at night, staring at the fire, wondering if your son is alive, if you'll ever see him again. Margaret prays. She's found religion in her old age, prays constantly. You want to believe it helps, want to believe someone's listening, but you've seen too much death to trust in divine intervention. Days pass like years. You work the farm, go through the motions, wait for news, any news, and then, 5 days later, riders come back. They're whooping, hollering, firing guns in the air. They won. The mountain men won. Ferguson's dead. His army destroyed. One of the most complete victories of the war so far. And James is alive, wounded, shot in the shoulder, but alive, coming home. Rebecca collapses when she hears, just drops to her knees and sobs. Relief. Pure relief. When James gets back, he's different, quieter, haunted, won't talk about what he saw, what he did, just says it was necessary, says Ferguson and his loyalists gave them no choice. You've seen that look before, in men who've killed, who've seen friends die, who've crossed a line they can't uncross. War does that, changes you, marks you, but he's home, he's alive, that's what matters. The wound heals, the nightmares probably don't, but you don't ask. Some things men carry alone. The war continues for another year, but after King's Mountain, the British can't hold the south, can't rally enough loyalists. The mountain men broke their strategy. One battle, one victory, changed everything. You didn't fight, too old, but your son did, your neighbours did, the men you've known for decades. Some came back, some didn't. That's the price. The Hendersons lost their oldest boy. John Anderson lost his nephew. 3 other families lost sons. You go to the funerals, listen to the prayers, watch the families grieve. Know how lucky you are that it wasn't your son in that grave, but could have been. So easily could have been. That's what you think about at night. How close you came to losing everything again. 1781. The war ends. The British surrender. The 13 colonies are now the United States of America. Free, independent. No more crown, no more lords, no more being told what to do by people across an ocean. You're 67 years old. You've lived through everything, Ulster. The Crossing. Indenture. Wilderness. Indian wars. A revolution. And you're still here. Still standing. Still on your land. Or your land, in a free country, a country you helped build, that your son helped fight for, that your grandchildren will inherit. This is what you crossed an ocean for, this freedom, this independence, this chance to build something without someone's boot on your neck. You stand outside your cabin. The sun is setting behind the mountains. Your mountains. Your Appalachia. Smoke rises from chimneys across the valley. Each one represents a family, a story, a journey like yours. This place, these people, this culture you're all building together. It's something new, not Irish, not Scottish, not English, not Cherokee, something that's all of those things and none of them, something that's uniquely Appalachian, and you're part of it, part of building this, part of creating something that will last long after you're gone. You're old now, tired, ready to rest. But not yet, not quite yet. There's still crops to bring in, grandchildren to spoil, whiskey to drink with old friends who are getting fewer each year. You've survived everything, crossed an ocean, buried a child, endured servitude, built a life from nothing, and somehow, impossibly, it worked out. Not the way you planned, not the way you expected, but here you are, free, landed, American. The mountains are turning gold and red, fall colours, beautiful, like they're on fire, like they're celebrating with you, celebrating survival, celebrating freedom, celebrating the stubborn refusal of Appalachian people to be broken. You smile. First time in a while, a real smile, because against all odds you made it. You actually made it. 1785, you're 71. Most men don't make it this far. You've outlived John Anderson, outlived Briggs, outlived half the people who crossed the ocean with you, but you're still here, still breathing, still watching the world turn. Margaret died 3 years back, peacefully in her sleep. You found her in the morning, cold, but calm, looked younger somehow, like death had smoothed away the hard years. You buried her on the hill overlooking your farm, where she can see the mountains. You miss her. Every day you miss her, but there's work to do, crops to tend, grandchildren to watch grow. Life doesn't stop just because your heart's broken. Today there's a gathering, happens twice a year now, spring and fall. Everyone in the valley comes together, brings food, shares news, celebrates being alive. It's become tradition, the kind of thing that feels like it's always been done even though you remember when it started. Annie's organising it this year. She's good at that, getting people together, making sure everyone's fed. She's got her mother's capability, wires warmth, their children help, running around setting up tables, hauling firewood, doing whatever needs doing. The gathering happens in a big field between 3 farms, tables made from sawhorses and planks, a bonfire big enough to roast a pig. Someone always roasts a pig, multiple someones usually. Families bring their best food, show off a little, compare recipes, trade secrets. Kate Henderson brings her chow chow. It's famous now. Pickled vegetables in a spicy sweet brine. Takes her all summer to make enough jars. People trade for it like currency. You've seen a man give a whole bushel of corn for 3 jars of Kate's chow chow. Rebecca makes biscuits, the big fluffy kind that soak up gravy. She brings them hot, wrapped in cloth, with a pot of sausage gravy that's more fat than anything else but tastes like heaven. People line up for Rebecca's biscuits and gravy. It's expected now, part of the gathering. Someone brings fried chicken, someone else brings cornbread. Annie made a blackberry cobbler from berries the kids picked. There's beans cooked with pork fat, collard greens, fried squash, fresh tomatoes from the late gardens. And everywhere, there's whiskey, moonshine, the mountain kind that nobody pays taxes on, clear as water, burns like fire. Every family's got their own recipe, their own still hidden somewhere. Everyone knows, nobody tells. That's how it works here. The British tried to tax whiskey back before the war, sent agents around looking for stills. Know what happened? Those agents got lost, mysteriously lost, ended up walking in circles for days before stumbling back to town, convinced the mountains were haunted. They weren't haunted, just full of people who don't appreciate outsiders nosing around their business. The new government, the American government, they're trying to tax whiskey too, learning the same lesson. You can't tax what you can't find, and you can't find stills in these mountains unless someone wants you to, which nobody does. Papa Eamon, your grandson William, runs up. He's 20 now. Tall like his father, got Rebecca's smile. Come sit, they're about to start the music. The music, that's the heart of it, the soul of these gatherings. Someone brought a fiddle from Scotland generations ago. Someone else brought one from Ireland. Now there's maybe a dozen fiddles in the valley. They come out at every gathering. The playing starts slow. 1 fiddle, 1 player. Old tune from the Highlands. You recognise it from your grandfather's stories. It's changed, though. Picked up new notes, new rhythms, American influences, Cherokee influences, something that's both old and new. Then another fiddle joins, then another. 3 fiddles playing together, weaving in and out. The sound is alive. Makes your foot tap even though you're too old and tired to dance. But the young ones aren't too old. They're dancing, this style they've developed out here, part Irish step dance, part something new. They call it buck dancing, flat-footed, percussive, using their feet like drums. The sound echoes off the mountains. James's daughter Mary is dancing. She's 15, light on her feet, her braid flying as she spins. The older women clap the rhythm. The men stomp. Everyone's part of the music. Everyone's part of the celebration. This is Appalachian music. That's what they're calling it now. Mountain music. It's not quite Irish, not quite Scottish, not quite anything from the old country. It's something that grew here in these mountains, from these people, a mix of everything they brought with them and everything they learned here. The fiddlers play faster, the dancers move faster, the crowds clapping harder, energy building, joy, pure joy. These are people who work themselves to death 6 days a week, but on gathering days, they celebrate. They remember why they work so hard. For this, for community, for family, for moments like this. You're sitting with the other old-timers, the ones who remember crossing the ocean, the ones who remember when this valley was empty forest. There's not many of you left now, maybe 6, 7 if you count old Tom, who's mostly deaf and may or may not know where he is. Remember when we first got here, William Morrison says. He came over in 1720, different ship, same story. Thought we'd all die that first winter. Damn near did. You say. And now look, he gestures at the gathering, at the crowd, at the children running everywhere, at the music and food and life. We built this, us. Nobody gave it to us. We made it. He's right. Everything here, every cabin, every field, every family exists because someone decided to survive, decided to keep going, decided that dying was not an option. Your people did good, Morrison says, means your family, James and his brood, Annie and hers, the grandchildren and great-grandchildren starting to appear. You've got a legacy. Legacy. Strange word. You never thought about legacy, just thought about surviving tomorrow, but here it is anyway. People carrying your name, carrying your story, living on land you cleared with your own hands. The fiddles shift to a slower song, a ballad, someone singing now, girl with a voice like honey, singing about a soldier who went to war and didn't come back, probably written about the revolution, about King's Mountain, about all the boys who didn't make it home. Everyone's quiet during the ballad, respectful, remembering every family here lost someone, in the war, in the wilderness, in childbirth, in 1,000 different ways. Death is always close in the mountains. You honour it, you acknowledge it, then you keep living anyway. The song ends. Moment of silence. Then the fiddles pick up again. Something cheerful, something that makes you want to move. The mood shifts back to celebration. That's the mountain way. Honour the dead, but celebrate the living. Mourn, but don't dwell. Keep moving forward because stopping means dying. Food's being served now, people lining up with wooden plates, taking a bit of everything. You get up, slowly. Your knees don't work like they used to. Make your way to the tables. Rebecca sees you, immediately makes you a plate, biscuits with gravy, some of that pork, a scoop of Kate's chow chow. Annie adds cobbler, more food than you can eat, but you'll try. You sit under a tree, away from the crowd a bit, just watching, listening, taking it in. This community, this culture, this thing you're all building together. A young boy approaches, can't be more than 6. One of your great-grandchildren. You've got so many you sometimes lose track of names. Are you Papa Eamon? He asks, shy, half hiding behind the tree. I am. Mama says you came from across the ocean, from Ireland. A long time ago. What was it like? The ocean? You think about how to answer that. How do you explain crossing the Atlantic to a child who's never seen water bigger than a creek? How do you describe 52 days in the dark, watching your baby die? It was hard, you say. Simple truth, but I made it, and that's how you're here now. He thinks about that. I'm glad you made it. Me too, boy, me too. He runs off, back to the other children, back to games and laughter and a childhood that's easier than yours was. That's the point. That's why you did it, so they could have easier, so they could have better. The sun's setting, the bonfire's growing, someone's brought out more whiskey, the singing's getting louder, the laughter's getting rougher. This is the part of the evening where the old folks start heading home and the young ones get wild. James finds you. You want me to walk you home? I'm not dead yet, I can walk. He smiles. I know, but I'll walk you anyway. You let him. pride's not worth falling and breaking something. You walk together, slow. The music fades behind you. The stars come out, more stars than you ever saw in Ulster. The sky here is huge, endless, like the land. You ever regret it? James asks. Coming here? Regret what? The ocean, the indenture, nearly dying 100 different times. All of it. You think about that, really think. No, you say, I don't regret it. Your mother and I, we did what we had to, and look what came from it. You, your children, this life, this place. No regrets. Good, James says, because I'm grateful for what you did, for bringing us here. You stop walking. Look at him, your son, grown, grey in his own beard now, strong, capable, free. You would have done the same, you say. For your children, that's what parents do. We suffer so they don't have to. He nods, understands. He's got his own children to worry about now, his own sacrifices to make. The burden passes from generation to generation. That's how it works. You reach your cabin, your small cabin that's been home for 58 years. James makes sure you're inside. Fires is still going. Everything's warm, safe. I'll check on you tomorrow, he says. I'll be here. He leaves. You sit by the fire, alone but not lonely. You can still hear the music faintly, still hear the celebration, your people, your community, your Appalachia. You think about Ulster, about that cold cottage with the leaking thatch, about Crawford and his horse and his endless demands, about never having enough, about always being afraid. Then you think about here, about this cabin you built, this land you own, this family you raised, this community you helped create, about the freedom to make whiskey without some lord taking a cut, about the freedom to hunt without asking permission, about the freedom to just be. The cabin's walls tell stories if you know how to read them. There's a quilt hanging over your bed. Annie made it. Every piece of fabric has a story. That blue square came from a shirt James wore as a boy. The red one was Margaret's dress. The green was from a trader who passed through in 1740. Each piece a memory, each stitch a connection. That's how it works here now. Women make quilts that tell stories, pass them down. Each pattern has meaning. Star patterns for guidance, log cabin patterns for home, wedding ring patterns for love. The quilts aren't just blankets. They're history, they're family, they're art. Annie taught her daughters to quilt. They're teaching their daughters. The skill passes down. The stories pass down. Nothing's wasted in the mountains. You use every scrap, turn it into something beautiful, something lasting. Same with the food. Nothing fancy, but it's good. Honest. Rebecca's biscuits and gravy started as making do with what you had. Flour, lard, milk from the cow, sausage from the pig you butchered. Not rich people food, working people food, but done right, done with care. It's better than anything you ate in Ulster. Kate's chow chow came from necessity too. You grow too many vegetables, they'll rot, so you pickle them, but Kate figured out how to make it special, sweet and sour and spicy. Now it's tradition, now it's expected, now it's part of who these people are. The fried chicken, the cornbread, the collard greens cooked slow with pork fat, the blackberry cobbler, all of it came from making do, from using what the land provides, from refusing to waste anything, from turning poverty into something worth celebrating. And the moonshine, the shine that ain't taxed, because if you have to pay taxes on it, it ain't shine. That's become a point of pride, a middle finger to authority. These people crossed an ocean to escape lords and landlords and kings. They're not about to let some government tell them what they can do with their own corn on their own land. The stills are hidden. Everyone knows where they are. Nobody tells. That's the code. You don't rat out your neighbour. You don't cooperate with tax collectors. You don't bow to authority just because someone says you should. That attitude, that suspicion of outsiders and authority, it runs deep here, earned deep. These are people who were promised freedom and given servitude, who were told the land was theirs and then taxed on it, who fought a war to be free, and now the new government wants to control them, same as the old one. So they resist, quietly, stubbornly, the mountain way. They make their whiskey, they help their neighbours, they take care of their own. And if some government man comes asking questions, well, they don't know nothing about nothing. Roads are confusing up here, easy to get lost. Maybe you should head back down the mountain before dark. You think about the Cherokee, about Sali, who's been dead for years now, about Agon before him, about how they taught you to survive, how they shared their land even though your people were taking it, how some bonds transcend politics and war and history. Wyer's still around, old like you. His and Annie's children are grown. Their grandchildren are fully mixed. Look Cherokee or look white, depending on which features they inherited. Speak both languages. Know both worlds. They're something new, something that couldn't exist anywhere but here. The mixing happened everywhere. Traders married Cherokee women. Cherokee men married settler women, Scots-Irish and German and English and Cherokee and sometimes African, freed or escaped, all mixing together in these mountains where old rules don't hold and new ones are still being written. Your great-granddaughter has a Cherokee name and a Scottish name, uses whichever fits the situation. That's the mountain way too. Practical, adaptable, use what works, ignore what doesn't. You think about the values that have formed here, the mutual aid, the way people help each other without being asked. Barn needs raising, everyone shows up. Family sick, everyone brings food, someone dies, everyone pitches in for the widow, nobody keeps score, nobody expects payment. You help because that's what you do, because next time it might be you who needs help. Family comes first. Always family first. But family's bigger than blood here. It's your neighbours, your community, the people who've survived alongside you, who've bled the same dirt, who've buried their dead in the same mountains. That's family too. You think about the attitude, the no-nonsense, pragmatic, suspicious of authority attitude that defines these people. They're not rude, not unfriendly, but they're direct, honest. They say what they mean, they don't suffer fools, they don't bow to titles or positions. A man is measured by his work, by his word, by whether he shows up when his neighbours need him. That attitude came from Ulster, from Scotland, from Ireland, from the Gaelic ancestors who fought their own wars against English lords, who resisted, who refused to be broken. You brought it with you, nurtured it, passed it down, and it flourished here where the mountains protect you and the distance keeps authority at bay. The culture that's formed here in these mountains, it's something special, something that will last. You can feel it. The music will keep playing, the food will keep cooking, the whiskey will keep flowing, the quilts will keep telling stories, the values will keep passing down. This is Appalachia, not Ireland, not Scotland, not England, not Cherokee. Something new, something that took pieces from everywhere and made something uniquely its own, something hard-scrabble and beautiful, something tough and tender, something that understands suffering but celebrates joy. Something that works itself to death 6 days a week and dances like hell on the 7th. You're old, you're tired, you won't see many more gatherings, maybe one more spring, maybe not, but that's all right. You've lived, really lived, not just survived. You've seen your children thrive, your grandchildren grow, your great-grandchildren born. You've put down roots so deep they'll last generations. The mountains outside your door stand eternal. They were here before you. They'll be here after. But you were here too. You mattered. Your story matters. Your struggle matters because it led to this, to life, to family, to freedom. You close your eyes. The fire crackles. Somewhere in the distance a fiddle plays. Someone's laughing. Someone's singing. The sound of Appalachia. The sound of home. You smile, content, at peace. You made it. Against all odds, through every hardship, past every obstacle that tried to kill you, you made it. And now you can rest. Finally rest. Knowing your people will carry on. Knowing the story continues. Knowing that what you built will last. The music plays on. The mountains stand watch. And you, old and tired but satisfied, drift into the warm darkness. Safe, free, home. Eamon died in his sleep that winter, 1786, 72 years old. They buried him next to Margaret on the hill overlooking the valley, where he could see the mountains forever. James carved the headstone himself, just the basics, name, dates, and one line. He crossed an ocean so we could be free. That's the truth of it. Simple, direct, the mountain way. But the story doesn't end there. Stories like this never really end. They just keep going, keep moving forward through the people who come after. James lived another 30 years, died at 70. His children lived, their children lived. The family tree spread across Appalachia like roots in good soil. Some stayed in the Shenandoah Valley, some went to Kentucky like they always talked about, some pushed into Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia. Everywhere the Scots-Irish went, they brought that culture with them, that attitude, those values, that music, that food, that stubborn refusal to bow to anyone. Annie and Wyer's line continued too. Their mixed children had children. Those children had children. The Cherokee blood mixed with Scots-Irish blood mixed with German blood mixed with everything else that flowed through these mountains, creating something new, something uniquely Appalachian. The quilts kept getting made, patterns passing down, stories stitched into fabric, women gathering to quilt together, talking, sharing, keeping the tradition alive, each quilt a piece of history, each pattern a memory, each stitch a connection to the women who came before. The food evolved but stayed rooted. Biscuits and gravy became standard fare. Every family's got their own recipe now. Some use more fat, some add pepper, but the basics stay the same. Flour, fat, milk, sausage, simple, filling, honest. Chow chow spread through the mountains like gospel. Every grandmother's got her own version. Some sweeter, some spicier, some with more cabbage, some with more pepper, but all of it serving the same purpose, preserving the harvest, making sure nothing goes to waste, turning abundance into something that lasts through winter. Other foods became staples too. Chicken fried steak, hoe cakes, cornbread in cast iron skillets, soup beans, fried okra, pickled everything, stack cake for special occasions, food that came from poverty, from making do, but turned into celebration, into culture, into identity. The music kept evolving. Those fiddles from Ireland and Scotland, they picked up new influences, African rhythms from the few freed or escaped slaves who made it to the mountains, native melodies from the Cherokee, everything mixing together into something that could only exist here. By the 1800s, you had what people started calling bluegrass, named after Kentucky bluegrass even though it grew everywhere in the mountains, fast fiddles, banjos, mandolins, guitars, voices singing high and lonesome, music that told stories, that celebrated life, that mourned death, that did both at the same time. Buck dancing kept going too, that flat-footed percussive style, feet drumming out rhythms, body moving, not fancy, not delicate, just honest, just joyful, the kind of dancing that happens after a week of back-breaking work when you need to remember you're alive. And the moonshine. Oh, the moonshine never stopped. The government kept trying to tax it, kept sending revenue agents into the mountains. Those agents kept getting lost, kept finding themselves walking in circles, kept learning that you don't mess with mountain people and their stills. If you have to pay taxes on it, it ain't shine. That became almost a motto, a philosophy, a way of life. Not about the money, really, about the principle, about refusing to let someone else control what you do on your own land with your own crops, about independence, about freedom, about the same thing that drove people to cross an ocean in the first place. The values held too. That mutual aid, that sense of community. Someone's barn burns down, everyone helps rebuild. Someone's sick, everyone brings food. Someone dies, everyone shows up for the funeral and the wake and makes sure the widow and kids are taken care of. Not because anyone's keeping score, because that's what you do, because that's who these people are. Family first. Always family first. Blood family, but also your neighbours who've been there for generations, your church family, your community, the people who understand the life because they're living it too. That's family. That's who you protect, who you help, who you trust. And that attitude toward authority, that no-nonsense, don't tell me what to do, prove yourself through actions, not words attitude, it's still there, still strong. These are people whose ancestors fled landlords and kings, who survived indenture, who fought in revolutions, who carved homes from wilderness. They're not impressed by titles or credentials. Show them what you can do, earn their respect, otherwise words are just wind. Down to earth, practical, honest, suspicious of anyone who talks too fancy or promises too much. That's the Appalachian way. That's what got passed down from those Scots-Irish who crossed an ocean, from those Cherokee who taught them to survive, from everyone who contributed to building this culture. Where are they now, the descendants of those Scots-Irish settlers? All over, really, all over America. People with names like Anderson and Henderson and Campbell and dozens of others. People who don't even know their ancestors came from Ulster, who don't know about the crossing, who don't know about the indenture or the struggle or the slow building of something from nothing. But some know, some remember, some keep the stories alive. And in Appalachia, they're everywhere. North Carolina has the highest percentage of Scots-Irish ancestry in America, almost 3% of the population claiming that heritage. South Carolina and Tennessee aren't far behind at 2.5%. Doesn't sound like much until you realize that's hundreds of thousands of people. Millions if you count the ones who don't know or don't claim it but carry the blood anyway. The mountains are still full of descendants, still full of people living the life their ancestors built, working hard, suspicious of outsiders, taking care of their own, making music, making whiskey, making do. The isolation that made life so hard for Eamon and his generation, that isolation preserved the culture, kept it distinct, kept it strong. The poverty too. When you can't afford to buy things, you make them. You develop skills. You create art from necessity. You turn hardship into identity. Appalachian quilts are collector's items now. Museums display them, art galleries show them. But in the mountains, they're still being made, still telling stories, still keeping people warm, still connecting grandmothers to granddaughters through thread and fabric and pattern. Appalachian music influences everything. Rock and roll, country, folk, bluegrass went mainstream. The high, lonesome sound that started in these mountains is played everywhere now, but it started here, in cabins like Eamon's, around fires like the ones they built, from people who turned their suffering into something beautiful. The food? You can get biscuits and gravy anywhere now. You can find moonshine in liquor stores, legal and taxed and refined. But in the mountains, it's still being made the old way, the real way, the way that honours the tradition and the refusal to bow to authority, and the connection to ancestors who fought for the right to do what they wanted with their own damn corn. Go to any small town in Appalachia today. You'll find restaurants serving the same food Eamon's family ate. Chicken fried steak that's been pounded thin, breaded, fried and covered in gravy. Hoe cakes which are just cornbread fried on a griddle but somehow taste like home. Stack cakes made with dried apples, the kind you serve at weddings and funerals. Soup beans with cornbread, a meal that costs almost nothing but fills you up and sticks to your ribs through a long day of work. The fiddle music evolved into bluegrass. Bill Monroe, the father of bluegrass, had Scots-Irish blood. So did most of the people who developed the sound. That high, lonesome singing, that comes from the old ballads, from Scotland, from Ireland, from people who sang while they worked because singing made the work bearable. The banjo, though, that came from African traditions brought by enslaved people, mixed with European fiddle music in the mountains. Another example of cultures meeting and creating something new, something that could only exist here, something that's now recognized around the world as uniquely American. And buck dancing. You can still see it, mostly at festivals now, at mountain heritage celebrations, young people keeping the tradition alive, feet moving fast, heels striking ground, creating rhythm, creating joy. The same style Annie's children danced, the same style their children taught their children, unbroken line stretching back 300 years. Visit the right parts of Appalachia during the right season and you'll find quilting bees, groups of women gathered working together on a single quilt, talking, sharing stories, passing down patterns and techniques and gossip and wisdom, the same way it's been done since Margaret's time. Since before that, really. Since women figured out that working together makes the work easier and more bearable. The patterns have names that tell you where they came from. Irish chain, Scottish cross, log cabin, wedding ring, each one a piece of history, each one a memory of who these people were and where they came from and what mattered to them. The attitude is still there too. You go to Appalachia, you'll meet it. That directness, that honesty, that community-first mentality, that suspicion of people who promise too much or talk too fancy, that pride in working hard and taking care of your own and not asking for handouts, but also not letting your neighbour go hungry. Americans like to think of themselves as no-nonsense, pragmatic, honest, down-to-earth, and just a bit suspicious of authority. Well, the Appalachians didn't invent that, but they sure as hell live it. They perfected it, made it part of their identity. Supporting your family by going down in a coal mine every day will do that to you. And coal mining, that became the dominant industry in parts of Appalachia. Dangerous work, deadly work, work that breaks your body and fills your lungs with dust. But it paid. And mountain people did it because that's what they do. They do what needs doing. They survive. That sense of mutual aid, of putting family and community first, that's inherited from those Gaelic ancestors, from the clans, from the old ways where you survived together or you didn't survive at all. It made the journey across the ocean, made it through indenture, made it through the wilderness, and it's still there, still strong, still defining how mountain people treat each other. You see it after disasters, floods, fires, storms. Mountain communities pull together. Nobody waits for government help. They help each other immediately, completely, because that's what you do, because that's who they are. It's what makes Appalachia Appalachia, not the mountains, though they're part of it, not the poverty, though that shaped it, not any single element, but the combination, the culture that formed from Scots-Irish and Cherokee and German and African influences all mixing together in isolation and hardship and creating something that never existed before. Something that honours where it came from while being completely its own thing. Something that remembers the crossing and the struggle and the building while looking forward to what comes next. Something that's been passed down for 300 years and shows no signs of stopping. Walk through any small Appalachian town, you'll see names that trace back to Ulster, to Scotland, to the frontier. Campbell, Henderson, Anderson, McDowell, Sevier, Shelby. Names on street signs, on businesses, on gravestones. Names that carry stories if you know how to read them. You'll hear accents that aren't quite Southern, aren't quite Irish, aren't quite anything else. Something that developed here, in isolation, preserving old pronunciations, adding new ones, creating a sound that immediately tells you where someone's from, that mountain drawl that's music in itself. You'll see architecture that echoes log cabins, even when it's modern construction. Something about the proportions, the placement, the way buildings sit on the land, like the memory of those first rough structures, is still influencing how people build today. Eamon would barely recognise modern Appalachia, cars on paved roads, electricity, running water, cell phones, the internet, all the conveniences he couldn't imagine, but he'd recognise the people, he'd recognise the values, he'd recognise the music, the food, the quilts, the attitude, the heart of it. He'd see his great-great-great-great-grandchildren and know they were his, not just in blood, in spirit, in the way they treat their neighbours, in the way they refuse to bow, in the way they work hard and celebrate harder, in the way they remember where they came from while building where they're going. That's the legacy. Not just families, not just names, but a culture, a way of being, a set of values that refuses to die no matter how much the world changes around it. And if you're of Scots-Irish descent, if you've got those names in your family tree, if you can trace your line back to Ulster or the Appalachian frontier, then you're part of this story. You're carrying it forward. You're living the legacy. Maybe you didn't know, maybe you never thought about where your family came from or how they got here, but now you know, now you understand. Poverty, famine, and a dream of freedom brought them across an ocean. Hardship, determination, and stubbornness kept them alive. And what they built became something bigger than any of them could have imagined. The misty mountains of Appalachia, still there, still beautiful, still home to people who remember, even if they don't know they remember, who carry the story in their bones, who live the values without thinking about it because it's just who they are, who are part of something 300 years in the making and still going strong. That's the story of the Scots-Irish of Appalachia. Eamon's story, your story if you've got the blood, our story really because it's part of what made America what it is. The good parts anyway, the independent parts, the refuse to bow parts, the take care of your own parts, the celebrate life parts. And unlike Eamon, unlike Margaret, unlike everyone who struggled through that journey, you're lying in a comfortable bed right now, warm, safe, fed, with clean water nearby and a roof that doesn't leak and no one threatening to raise your rent or extend your indenture or take what's yours. That comfort, that safety, that freedom, people like Eamon paid for it. With their lives, with their suffering, with their absolute refusal to quit, even when quitting would have been easier. So rest easy, let the mountains watch over you. Even if you're far from mountains, let the story settle in your bones. Let the fiddle music play in your dreams. Let the weight of history be a comfort, not a burden. Because you're here, you made it, your ancestors made it. And tomorrow, like them, you'll wake up and keep going. But for now, just rest, safe and warm and free, the way they dreamed you'd be.